Okay, here's Manny Penny. This is a 16 three-hand 5-year-old thoroughbred gelding by Micromanage. And Manny had his big introduction to poles and some little jumps today. Before today, all he's ever done is just walk over some poles, which always actually, I know that sounds like such a boring, simple thing, but actually their approach to even just walking over a single pole on the ground tells me so much about what they're going to think about doing that over the same poles in the trot and the canter. And he was just so easygoing about it. It was just such a non-thing to him that I knew that then doing a little bit more and coming in the trot and the canter would also be really no big deal, which actually it was better than no big deal. I actually think that he really enjoys jumping and he had fun today, which is honestly always just the most important thing. Of course, I can't really force funness, even though that's always the goal, is that we of course want them to enjoy their job. But what is my job is to make sure that whatever happens, it's a positive experience. And so I always just feel like whenever we're going into one of these really at any stage of jumping, it doesn't really even matter the level of the horse, but especially the first couple of times you're introducing jumping, just the most important thing is that the horse has a net positive experience. Of course there's going to be learning moments and there's going to be times where they have to struggle and they have to learn and make mistakes, and all those things are normal and part of the process. But at the end of the ride, I want the horse to feel like they came away with more confidence than what they started with. Now, sometimes that's easier said than done. Manny made that very easy today because he was so happy to do the job. And I think he just really enjoyed it. So really, I don't take any credit for that. I just think he was super easy, and he's going to think that this whole jumping thing is really fun as he goes on. So Manny, I last rode Manny on Tuesday, 2 days ago. We did a flat ride, which I got video of that ride. And then he was off yesterday. So he had the day off while I was in Virginia, lessoning on two of my personal horses. And so then today I got on him and we did this introduction ride. And obviously, I'm not lunging him or anything like that. This is a horse that you can just get right on without needing to worry about any prep work. So we did a little warm up on the flat, and then we start walking over poles. And so at this point, he's already walked over all these poles. So we're doing it on loose rein because I know that he's already confidently walking over poles, which I know sounds like such a boring, simple thing, but it actually is not always this way. And if walking over poles is not a boring, easy thing, you need to get it that way before you start trotting and cantering over poles. So boring is actually sort of the goal. It's kind of what we're going for here. We want them to think that this is just an easy thing that is, we want them to enjoy it, of course, but we don't want them to think they need to get their blood up about going over some poles and little jumps. Excuse me. And Manny was so good. His general straightness was excellent. Maybe a little bit of leaning on the left shoulder, which you'll see in a few spots. But in general, the turning, steering straightness was all very good. So Manny's funny. He finds the left bend more natural than the right, but he actually does some things easier to the right. Like, for example, his right canter transition he finds easier than the left canter transition. And he actually finds jumping off the right bend a little easier than off the left bend. Now, I assumed when we started, because this is the very start, I assumed that he would actually think the left was a little easier since he actually finds the left bend more natural. However, he proved me wrong. And while he's going over the things, which is basically all we can ask at this point. But you'll see when we do some approaches up the right, that actually is a bit more natural to the right. And he had this big light bulb moment about halfway through the ride when I stayed on a 20-meter circle over two cavalettis on the center line. That was a really good boy there, good effort. And we just kept coming around on the cavalettis, which I put up a little bit. So they were like small jumps to him at that point. And he really sort of figured out the footwork and the bend to the left. And it just sort of, everything just clicked into place from him from there on. And then he went on to have some really nice jumps symmetrically off the left and the right. So there, that was really cute, really good shape and form and all that stuff. You can see that he wanted to lean a little bit to the left. So we didn't quite hit center. We jumped that to the left, which is just such a little nuance, but all that stuff sort of adds up as you continue on with these guys. So it's just really worth noticing and paying attention to that stuff right from the beginning. So there, he jumped it straighter, which was my goal. I had more left leg. I was paying more attention to getting to the center. He jumped it a little bit more awkwardly, of course, because he wanted to lean to the left a little bit, and I insisted he stayed straight. So even though he probably made a better shape the time before, actually it was more correct, and he needed to have that moment where he had that little bit of awkward jump where he had to stay straight on the line. And then other things to notice about this are just I love his expression. He looks happy, sort of ears pricked in a relaxed way through this whole ride. That was really good. I loved his effort there was adorable. Nice little jumping motion over the pilot poles, landed in a balanced canter, and he was very straight. So that was excellent. So here's off the right, and just so much easier for him actually coming off the right out of the turn, which is just so interesting. Just little interesting things to notice. And actually, he thought that was quite fun. He had just a little moment of celebration, which is great. I'm always happy to see that, happy when they're telling me that they're having a fun time. And then that was even better, even smoother. Really cute shape, great balance. Good boy. And then, of course, at a certain point, these are just piles of poles or cavalettis. They realize that you don't actually have to make that much of an effort, but that's okay. We actually want them to make that realization. And then there was even less effort, which is fine. I mean, it's hilarious. He's being such a good boy. And then, same thing there. He's like, okay, I can just trot over these poles, which he's 100% correct. And then that was really good. That Cavaletti is set just a little bit higher. So to him, that small difference in height is just the difference between a trot step and a little bit of a jump effort. Really good turning there. That was really good. Just super straight, great balance, landed in a lovely canter. Made a really cute little shape without over jumping at all. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, this is all really easy and boring, which is what I want it to be. So we made some little X's and we put the Cavalettis up a little bit. And so here's what I was referencing earlier when I said we sort of had a light bulb moment on working to the left. And this is it. A little bit awkward there. He leans on the left shoulder, picks up the right lead. He'd actually, Billy had sort of been helping me set Cavalettis and trying to take video at the same time, which didn't really work. So we had already sort of done this awkwardly a few times on this circle to the left. But here is where he really started figuring it out. And then that was so good. That was really, to me, that was like his light bulb moment where he realized that he could sort of stay straight between the legs, have a little bit of left bend, and still jump up square between his shoulders. I thought that it just felt to me like it sort of clicked in that moment. And then he even comes out of the canter, which of course he's a little bit unsure, but A plus for effort. And then that was really good. Right to the base, careful with his feet. He actually does a lot of really, really good footwork in this ride. And I love his shape here. He's still doing really good flat work, even though we're doing a little bit of jumping. Absolutely adorable to the X. I mean, goodness, I wish I could pay all of my horses to be this wonderful the first time I introduce them to jumps. Again, really good. Super straight, lands in a really cute canter. Just no drama. And that was some really cute footwork there. Not cute, good footwork. Really smart. Again, really good footwork. Certainly not perfect, but just so smart to figure out his feet and stay straight. So then we come in the canter, and obviously, I'm not looking for the gappy one ever on these guys. But that's the distance that came up, and he was a super good sport to just sort of confidently go for it. So now at this point, I'm thinking we should almost be done, but I would like to come again in the canter to something and get a little bit of a sweeter spot distance. Really cute flat work here. I love his shape, love his expression. And there we almost kept the left canter. I think he's getting a little bit tired at this point. But that was it. That was the sweet spot that I wanted to get for him before we finished. That was really good. So I thought we might try, I'm just repeating that one more time just for repetition practice sake. However, he was getting a little bit tired at this point. So he broke, and then he really just, to me, he just felt tired in that moment. So